Good day, everyone, and welcome to our English class. Today, we will be discussing a very interesting topic. But before that, allow me to ask you this question. How do you give importance in every small detail in life? Well, in order for us to discover and appreciate more about certain story, we need to pay attention to its every single detail because big things come from small things. Let us consider more the devices that can add helpful details in our story. You are expected to demonstrate intelligence today and also creativity through a thorough understanding of the craft, through discussion and own writing interest. Discussion will be able to help you to consider some other things, some other devices that could really help us to make our writing, our story more interesting and more creative. Because today we are going to talk about techniques and literary devices in creative writing. And as we start, let's talk about literary device. A literary device is any specific aspect of literature or a particular work which we can recognize, identify, interpret, or analyze. Both literary elements and literary techniques can rightly be called as literary devices. The literary techniques are specific deliberate constructions of language which an author uses to convey meaning. Again, that is literary device. After that, let's have the creative license. Creative license, sometimes known as artistic license, dramatic license, poetic license, or narrative license. It refers to a creator's freedom to ignore the conventions and rules, or conventions or rules rather, that normally govern the art in which he or she works. Creative license is an exaggeration or alteration of objective facts or reality for the purpose of enhancing meaning in a fictional context. Right after creative license, you need to take note as well the figurative language. Even though we have already mentioned this before, we are going to repeat that figurative language is any use of language where the intended meaning differs from the actual or literal meaning of the words themselves. The poet makes extensive use of figurative language, presenting the speaker's feelings as colors, sounds, and flavors. There are many techniques which can rightly be called figurative language, including metaphors, simile, hyperbole, personification, oxymoron, verbal ironies, and the likes. In addition, we could also use symbolism. When we say symbolism, this is the practice of using specific objects or images to present or represent an abstract idea. Also, talking about symbolism is the using of a symbol. Symbol must be something tangible or visible. It could be an object or an idea, or might be an event or someone. Okay, while the idea it symbolizes must be something abstract or universal. For example, the crows are used to symbolize a bad omen like death, or the color purple symbolizes royalty. The color red can symbolize death, struggle, power, passion. Sometimes red is being used for victory, red symbolizes for celebration, as we have the paint the town red, right? Also, we have spiders, symbolize spying, sneaky, or untrustworthiness. So there are a lot of objects or symbols that we may use enable for us to express or enable for us to represent a certain idea. Then we have style and tone. When we say style, it is the unique way the author writes, but also encompasses the entirety of the novel and story as well. Their style can be how they write, but also how they tell a story and the way in which they allow events to unfold. While the tone is the apparent emotional state of the speaker or the narrator or the narrative voice as conveyed through the language of the piece. Again, that is style and tone, and you also need to consider this thing. After the style and tone, we also need mood, or we also need to check the mood, okay, that we are going to give to our stories. When we say the mood, it is the atmosphere or the emotional condition created by the piece within the setting. Also the theme, which is the main idea or the central idea in your story or on your story. It is an underlying meaning of a literary work, which may be stated directly or indirectly. So literary devices has its function, apparently. First is to give meanings and logical framework to works through language. In general, the literary devices are a collection of universal artistic structures that are so typical of all works of literature. It is frequently employed by the writers to give meanings and a logical framework to their works through language. Well, when such works are read by readers, they ultimately recognize and appreciate them. Sorry, when such works, rather, are being read by the readers, they ultimately recognize and appreciate them. Because of their universality, take note of that term, universality, they also allow the readers to compare a work of one writer to that of the other to determine its worth. They not only beautify the piece of literature, but also they are giving deeper meanings to it. Okay, and also, in addition, this one is, literary devices are being used to test as well the understanding of the readers alongside with providing them enjoyment of reading. Besides, they help motivating readers' imagination to visualize the characters' scene and settings, characters' scenario, okay, more clearly. Moreover, there are several qualities that make this an insightful literary analysis essay. First, you need to provide clear thesis statement. Second, supporting evidence. Third, good introduction. Fourth, strong conclusion. And lastly, transitions. So you are just going to consider this qualities or this elements by the time that you are going to write your own literary analysis essay. Do you have questions? That will be all for today, and thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have learned new concepts and acquired new skills that you may use in your daily lives. Always remember that there is fun in learning.